Alright, Chapter 5, Direct General Support Maintenance, Section 1, Axle Maintenance, Paragraph 5.1, General Front Middle Axle Replacement, 5.2, 5.3, Repair. Rear axle replacement, 5.4, torque rod bushing replacement, 5.5, axle alignment. Section 5 provides information performing direct support level axle repairs of the M870A3 with the semi-trim, the front of the middle axle replacement, removal of the insulation. Equipment condition left right axle, right brake shoe, the assembly, remove the personal required materials, use the materials parts of the 5/8 inch and NC bolt with a self-locking NC bolt with the GRC nuts. Left equipment conditions, left right brake shoes assembly, remove left right slack adjuster assembly, remove left right air brake assembly, remove left right brake camshaft, remove the AB sensor, remove the front axle only. The tool testing equipment toolkits for the mechanical general oil in the shopping equipment common number 1. Remove the front and middle axle, remove it the same way that this procedure covers the front axle, repeat the procedure for the middle axle. Front and middle axle replacement. Using the hydraulic bolt jack of the raising, two of the raising approximately 3 in the end of the tandem bending of the support for the axle to be moved. Place the jack stand under the tandem beam to lower the beam to the rest on the jack of the stand. Replace the step 1 with the tandem beam with the opposite side of the boat to leave the jack in the position. Secondary support. Warning, although you have the jack stand with the support of the trailer when removing the tire of the wheel, the assembly serious injury could result in the jack to fail for the axle and it's not supported. Using a handle wrench to remove the 10 nuggets for the securing each well with remove the inner or outer wheel for the both side of the axle to be removed. Position the dolly jack under the balance point of the front axle. Raise the dolly only until the dolly comes into contact with the axle. Remove the 5/8 inch bolt with the self-locking nut of the both ends of the upper and lower torque rods securing the axle. Discard the bolts and nuts. Now, the torque rods attached to the axle tower pry off the metal plug cap from the torque tower gain for the axle of the torque rod, self-locking the bushing nuts. To remove the spigot caps, 3 of the torque rods, 5 of the torque rod installation typical view. It is suggested to mark one end of the torque rod routed tube to the relatively installation location orientation prior to the removal of the torque rods to avoid possible reverse torque rod during the reinstallation. Front middle axle replacement continued. Use the dolly jack with the torque rod saddle axle bracket 7 the axle 6 from the tandem beam to the 8 with lower axle while with the assistant balance of the axle with the pull out the axle under the trailer and place on the dunnage. Installation pikes axle 6 on the dolly position on the tandem beam to the 8 connect the torque rods to 5 with the base spigots of the torque rod and same of the saddle with the axle bracket 7 with the trailer suspension tower the hanger frames. Secure torque rods in the position of spigot caps with a new 5/8 inch NC bolt with the 4 with the locking nuts. And this shows your axle bar, your torque rod. Front middle axle replacement will continued warning. Only the new chamber to approved with the 5/8 inch non-locking nuts be the torque rod of the joint fastener. Do not reuse the other fastener. Do so may leave the fastener failure to consult with the loss of the vehicle, the controller, and result serious for the injury or death. The previous remove the plate for the tower metal plug cap. With the aid of the assistant, install the tire wheel, some of the torque lug nuts with the 455 foot-pound within a quarter of the light. The lug nut tightening sequence. Be sure that the valve steam opposite with a 180 inner valve steam. This shows the lock nut configuration. Check the alignment tire assembly placed with the block wood with the other object with the ground to the side of the tire. Rotate the wheel the distance between the block of the wood, but the tire varies more than 1/8 of an inch. The tire assembly is not properly mounted. The correct loosen of the nuts for the side with the greater deviation. The tighten the nuts on the opposite side. Recheck the torque and the alignment of the torque rod installation typical view. Front and middle axle replacement of the lug nuts should be reached with the proper tightness after the first 50 mile of the 100 mile of the operation after wheel installation. Remove the hydraulic jack and stand with the tandem beams. And following it's on task. Install left and right brake shoe cam to 449. Install left air brake chamber to 453. Install right slack adjuster assembly 448. Install right brake shoe the shoe assembly 447. Align axles is required in 5.5. Install the air brake accessory 452A. 5.3 rear axle replacement. Removal of the installation. Equipment condition for the left brake of the left and right brake shoe. Remove the left and right slack adjuster assembly. Remove the left and right air brake chamber. Remove the left right brake shaft. The camshaft. Remove the ABS sensor. Remove personnel required material. The bolts 5/8 non-locking bolts. Self-locking nuts. General safety instruction trailer must be supported front with the rear of the preventing shifting tools and test kit toolkit. Mechanical general shop equipment common number 1. Remove the using the hydraulic jack with the products appropriately raise the contact of the equalizing beam. Lift the equalizing beam approximately 3 inches within the plate for the 3 inches in the jack stand. 2 under the equalizing beam. Lower the beam and the rest for the on the jack stand. Alright, repeat steps 1 for the opposite equalizing beam with the leave with the jack in position as secondary support. But warning, as you for the jack stand support with the trailer, remove with the tire of the wheel with assembly. Serious injury can result with the jack stand fail if the axle is not supported. You for the handle and the wrench, remove the 10 lock nuts securing each of the wheel. Remove the inner and outer wheel for the both sides of the rear axle, pushing the dolly jack under the plant balance of the point of the front axle. Raise the dolly unit until the dolly comes into the contact with the axle. Remove the 5/8" both self-locking nuts, securing both ends of the 4 upper lower torque nut rod, securing the axle. Discard the bolts and nuts. This shows the torque rod installation. Once again, the torque rod is attached for the axle tower prior off the metal cap to train to gain access to the torque rod self-locking bushing nuts. Remove the spigot cap from the torque rods 5. No, if the suggested mark one end of the torque rod at the root tube, relieve the installation location orientation prior to the removal of the torque rod to avoid possible reversing the torque of the rod reinstallation. Remove the 5/8" NC bolt with the lock nut securing the rebound chain with the 8 to the right end of the equalizing beam. 9. To discard the lock nut, use the dock jolly lower the axle while the assistant balancer over the axle. Pull the axle out from under the trailer and place it onto the dunnage. Installation. Placing the axle on the dolly jack with the position under the trailer line with the rear rubber. Seamless ring of the rear axle connecting the rear bound chain with the 8 with the equalizing beam. 9 with the new 5/8" NC bolt with locking nuts for the torque nuts with 175 foot-pounds of torque. Warning that using only new clammers approved with the 5/8" new clammers. NC bolts. Note that the torque rod of the joint fasteners do not reuse the other fasteners. If you do so, may lead to the fastener failure and consequently less vehicle control. 3. Connect the torque rods 5 to the spigot 6 from the torque rod axle bracket with the trailer suspension from the towers and the hanger frame. To secure the torque rod in position with the spigot caps and the new 5/8" NC bolt for locking the nuts. If previously removed, replace the tower metal plug cap with the aid of the assistant install the tire with wheel. Assemble the torque lock nuts with 450 to 500 foot-pound within a corner of the lug nut tightening sequence. Be sure that the valve stem is opposite with 108 degrees inner valve stem. Rear axle replacement. Check the alignment of the tire assembly, placing the block of the wood over the other object on the ground over the side of the and rotate the wheel. Outside of the wheel, distance with the block of the wood of the tire is very more than 1/8 inch, and the tire assembly is not properly mounted with the correct loosen the nut on the side of the greatest deviation tighten, and that's opposite by recheck the torque of the alignment. Note, lug nuts should be rechecked with the proper tightening for the after 50 miles to 100 miles of the operation after wheel reinstallation. Lower trailer, remove the hydraulic jack stand for the equalizing beams. Following the installation, install the left and right brake shaft. Install the left and right air brake chamber, left and right slack adjuster assembly. Install the left and right brake shoe assembly and line axles as required. Install ABS sensor. 5.4. Torque rod bushing and replacement. Removal, the cleaning, and inspection and installation. Equipment, the condition, the power washing brush, the torque rod for the ends of the brakes cage, and personnel required. 1. Tool testing equipment, toolkit, mechanical shop equipment, common number 1. 5/8" NC bolt with self-locking 5/8" GRC nuts. 8. Safety instruction, front tire shock for the brakes. Relief of the cage. Semi-trailer must be supported. Use the jack stand at the front of the rear of the preventing the shifting. All the weight must be taken off the suspension components. And removal of the caution. Replace the torque rod bushing that may become accomplished with the use of the pressing of the special tool, hand crank, check torque rods of the free play with it at the end of the determine the need of replacement. Do not use the pry bar level the check with the free play with the do so may leave the premature bushing failure. Caution, working on the only torque rod over the time in order to avoid possible altering the axle alignment. In addition, for the completing of the remove of the refitting only one of the torque rod at a time. The chance of the torque rod mix up with which could lead to the realignment of the suspension, loss of the axle planing angle, consequently axle damage will be eliminated. If necessary, prior to the removal of the mark one end of the torque rod, relieve it at the installation location or orientation, avoid the possible reversing the torque rod during the entry installation. Cage brakes of the axles involved remove procedure. Remove the 5/8" bolt self-locking nut and the spigot cap 3 with the discard the bolt and nut. Torque rod with the torque rod attached with the axle tower with the pry off the metal cap with the torque gain for the action for the torque rod self-locking bushing nuts. Move the torque rod 5 with the spigot 6 with the prying edge end of the rod until the separate from the spigot support torque rod for the bushing and the 10 face line with the removal of the bushing and insert blade tip of the large screwdriver with the bushing of the eye with the torque rod and prying with the bushing out with the discard bushing. Cleaning, use the wire brush and the scraper to clean all the brush and scale the rubber accumulation for the torque of the rod and spigot with the caps of the spigot 3 and the spigot 6. No particular attention should be paid to the cleaning of the inside of the taper over the spigot. Inspection inspect the torque rod's eye with the spigots and the spigot cap with the visual cracks and wears. Torque rod installation, typical view. Torque rod bushing replacement. If the torque rod eyes of the spigot cap show physical craft, they must be discarded. The replacement of the spigot serve shown physical craft contact with the supplier, Chandler's Subvention International Incorporated for the guidelines. Oversight of the replacement bushings are available to refer to Table 5.1 for the wear limits of the spigot. The spigot wear limits of the parts are spigot number 2, the 2.530 inch for the minimum bushing, and the 2.53 and the maximum bushing. Surfacing bushing. The standard bushing that should be used within the spigot diameter is between 2.530 inches. Determine where the two measure for the 90 degrees apart with the A and the BB as shown in the illustration measure for the only over the visible wear of the smaller two dimensions to be taken the wear limit of reference to table 5 figure 1. And spot is also a minimum dimension shown in table 5.1 contact Chandler Subvention International for the guidelines. Number 2, joint assembly. Torque rod and replacement installation lubricating inside the diameter of the torque rod eye with the outside diameter of the replacement rubber bushing and the quality rubber lubricant such as the rim slip or the equivalent. Caution: never use mineral or base oil with the grease or jelly, solvent, and soap as lubricant to do will lead to the premature failure of the bushing. Torque rod installation. Support the end of the torque rod with the torque rod eye with the facing up to evenly with the place of the rod brushing with the torque rod eye with the outside of the tapered end of the brushing just for the inch of the eye with the heavy soft face. Male it sharp, striking the bushing with the drive down with the torque rod eye with the bushing should be evenly positioned front and the back within the torque rod eye. Repeat above the procedure. The second bushing lubricate the spigot end with the inside the diameter of the bushing and install with the torque rod of its original install with the spigots. Secure the torque rod within position with the spigot cap with the new 1/8 inch NC bolt. 4. Lock nuts. Torque nuts with the 135 foot-pound of the if previously removed to replace with the lower the tower metal plug cap is not shown. Warning: use only new chamber to prove with the 5-inch NC bolt with the nuts of the torque rod joint fasteners. Do not reuse the other fasteners. You may be delayed with the fastener failure. Consequent loss of the vehicle control. Repeat the procedure with the opposite torque rod. 8. Uncase the brakes as required. Following tasks are none. 5.5 axle alignment. The checking the axle alignment and aligning of the axle. The equipment of the condition of the brakes cage of the paragraph 219 wheels. Remove the suspension must be free with the loop of the non-binding exists. All weight must be taken off the suspension components. Personnel required tool testing. Equipment tool testing. Mechanical general shop equipment. Number 1, spindle extension. The tram gauge. Check the aligning axle alignment. Note for the proper tracking to produce the tire wheel of the axle must be properly aligned with relation with the kingpin prior to alignment to make the certain the suspension with the free with the loop of the axle that have not been released in the binding condition. The sharp turn for the unusual maneuver, the axle can be relaxed and neutralized by simply moving the trailer back and forth into the straight line, releasing the axle off the ground to allow them to straighten out. The line can be accomplished with the optical device designed for the purpose. It can be accomplished manually for the use of the tram gauge and steel tape measure. Many measure the distance D for the see the illustration for the king point center 1 with the center line of the axle spindle 2. It is not recommended the spindle extension be used to facilitate the measurement of the procedure. Alright, you have 1, 2, which was your center point of the line of the kingpin, and then your 2, your center point of the line, the center line of the axle spindle, and then you measure the distance D1 for the illustration for the kingpin center point with the center line of the axle spindle for the opposite side of each of the axle. Compare the dimension with the step 1 and 2 for the dimensions D1 and 2 equal the axle as the line with the dimensions are not equal. The axle must be aligned. Subtract the difference between distance D1 and D2 for the difference of and half this as the amount of the change required to bring the axle in the square with the kingpin. Lining the axles. Note that on M87A3 trailers 1100 series, the tri-axle suspension system, only one of the lower torque rods for each of the axle adjustment for the axle alignment procedure. For the other torque rods for each of the axle are fixed. Only at one time of the adjustable torque rod should be adjusted. Only at one at a time should the available torque rods be adjusted. Starting with the front axle, loosen the torque rod eye pinch bolts on the both ends of the adjusting torque rod. Note that if the punch bolt fasteners are badly corrected with the damage, remove the discard bolts and replace the new bolts. Attach the pipe branch of the torque rod tube with rotate the tube with either lengthen or shorten the torque rod as required for the minimum of D1 or D2 with the same rate with the tolerance 1/16 of an inch. No, if the difficulty encountered rotating the torque rod tube with the threaded ends may have the corroded, apply with the quantity of quality penetrating oil into the threads. The difficulty is still encountered with the wedge, which may be driven between the eye lugs through the release of the clamping. The fact of the chain type of the wrench is suggested when rotating the torque rod. Visually check the rubber bushings to be sure that they are not distorted or evenly distributed around the torque rod. If the distortion is seen, neutralize, relax the bushing as previously described. Them recheck the dimension. The torque on the side of the pinch bolt. The bolts will be discarded. Replace the new fastener torque 1.5 inch NC bolt and 65 foot-pounds. 5/8 inch NC bolt is 135 foot-pounds. Warning, failure to torque fastener, specified torque will may lead with the fastener failure with the consequent loss of the vehicle control. Repeat step 1 and through 4 with the line with the next rearward axle with the follow the same procedure with the loosening of the torque rod pinch pull, the filing, rotating with the tube, the dimension of the Y1 and Y1 between the axles aligned with the next rearward axle that is equal to the tightening of the clamp bolts to the proper torque. If the alignment has been accomplished with axles, all torque clamp bolts should be rechecked to make sure that they are in proper torque. Follow on text none. Or Section 2, brake maintenance. Paragraph 5.6, General 5.7, breakdown repair. 5.6, the section provides information performing direct support level of the axle repair for the M870A3 with the semi-trailer brake drum repair. The cover the removal of the repair standard of the equipment of the brake drum, the removal of the brake lathe, shop equipment, the common number 1. Move the inspection show of the brake drum to be out of round, successfully scored before and removing the little metal with the necessary true friction surface after the boring. Check with the brake drum that meets the requirements of the repair. The standard of the fittings and the requirement to move with more than 1/16 with an inch of material, 1/8 inch in diameter. Replace the brake drum. If the repair or rebuild standards are included with the here given in the minimum maximum to keep clear and current to the new or rebuilt parts, they also give the wear will indicate that the point the part with the parts will be worn before replacement in order to give it the maximum surface with the minimum replacement. Repair standard, figure 5.2, the brake wear drum tolerance. The inside diameter A, the concentric inside diameter, outside diameter. The inside diameter, illustration A, with a 16.495 inches. Maximum 16.505 inches. Wear limit to 16.625 inches. Concentric inside diameter, outside diameter B. Total reading indicator, maximum of 0.004 of an inch. Normally, all the parts which have not been worn beyond the dimension shown with the wear limit above the table demand with the corrosion of the proof of the surface point measurement of the repair standards are shown in the illustration A and B. Show the inside diameter and the concentric inside diameter with the outside diameter. Follow on instruction, install brake drum 461. Section 3, wheel, tire, maintenance. 5.8, general. 4.9, wheel, tire, and repair. Section provides the information performing the direct support level of the wear and the tire repairs of the M870A3. Wheel, tire, and repair. For wheel, tire, and repairs, refer to TM 92610-214. Gooseneck hydraulic system maintenance. Paragraph general 1, tilt cylinder replacement, and 1, lift cylinder replacement, and 5.13, gooseneck hydraulic liner repair. Alright, 5.10. The section provides information performing the direct support level of the hydraulic system repairs on the M870A3 semi-trailer tilt cylinder replacement. The task cover the removal of the insulation, initial setup of the equipment, condition of the trailer park with the level of the ground, brake of the engaged wheel, track with the cotter pins, tape, the anti-seat with the market, tools testing, equipment tools, mechanical general shop equipment, common number 1, goose safety instruction. Gooseneck must be securely supported during the procedure attached to the trailer removal. Gooseneck must be securely supported during the procedure with the tap of the trailer. The serve of the injury or the death of the main personnel incur with the gooseneck is unstable in tips. Hydraulic pressure, hydraulic tube. The operator of the equipment can pierce the body with a tip and conserve the injury to the personnel. Never disconnect the hydraulic line fitting with the first drop of the pressure to 0. Wear safety goggles when performing the all hydraulic maintenance procedure of the test. Failure to do so may result in serious eye injury due to the high pressure oil. Tilt cylinder replacement continue. 1. Release all the pressure from the hydraulic line. Disconnect the gooseneck for the hydraulic power source. The tag. Disconnect the true hydraulic line. 4. And for the 2 cylinders. 2. The cap or seal lines. Caution. The cap of the plug, all the ports and hose end to prevent contamination of hydraulic oil. If failure to do so may result in the damage of the equipment. Support with the gooseneck. Tilt arm 5. Remove the upper and lower cotter pins 1 with the tilt arm with the withdrawal cylinder attaching pins 5 with the tilt from the move of the tilt cylinder 2. Installation of the tilt cylinder tube between the gooseneck frame of the tilt arm. The 5 with the secure the upper lower the end of the cylinder attachment pins. The 3 with the lock cylinder attachment pins in place with the inserting cotter pins, bend pins, and screw. Remove the cap and sealing tape at the end of the hydraulic lines. Apply anti-seizing tape with the threads inlet and outlet push with the tilt cylinder. Connect the hydraulic line to the tilt cylinder. Apply the hydraulic pressure to the test operation. Check for the leaks. Extend with the retract of the tilt cylinder tube to 10 times to remove the air from the system. Follow up on the test of none. 5.12 lifting cylinder replacement. Discover the removal of the installation equipment. If this is a condition, the gooseneck shaft of the trailer, retesting on the firm pad with the tool set with the general mechanic, the chain horse supporting equipment, the common number 1, the block tackle, they tape the anti-sealing tape of the oil lubricating and internal combustion, and general safety instruction. Gooseneck must be securely operated in the manner to prevent the extended prior to the working of the gooseneck lock pin, hydraulic cylinder lock pins. Warning: gooseneck must be securely supported during the procedure of the testing of the firm foundation. Severe injury of death may result in the may be unstable to tap. High pressure with the hydraulic heat, the operating of the equipment can pierce the body with the tissue, can severe injury to the personnel. Never disconnect any hydraulic line without fitting the first dropping the pressure to zero. Where safety goggles to performing a leakage test on the valve, failure to do so may result in a serious eye injury due to the high pressure removal. Remove the support with the front of the gooseneck so that there is ample work clearance under the gooseneck. Gooseneck may should be permitted to drop of the gooseneck, lifting the lug with the center lug with the gooseneck are firmly grounded to allow the maximum extension of the lift cylinders. Note that removing the lower hydraulic line first in order to drain the hydraulic fluid from the system. Do not attempt to reuse the hydraulic fluid, but discard as described in the front matter portion of this manual under the hazardous waste disposal warning. Disconnect and appropriately tag lower of the upper hydraulic lines one with the lifting cylinder inlet with the outlet ports with the cap and tape with the closed in opening in ports and lines. Caution: cap of the plug at all ports of the hose and end to prevent the contamination of the hydraulic oil. Failure to do so may result in the damage of the equipment. Using overhead hoist to secure the chain around with the upper portion of the lift cylinder tube to withdraw the upper hoist with the remove the slack. Remove the bolt and lock nut securing out over the end of the upper lift cylinder pin 3, and remove the washer front end of the pin. Discard lock nut. Drive up lift cylinder pin with the 3 out from the hanger that has the access hole with the gooseneck wall with the to the free upper portion of the lift cylinder. Note: as the cylinder pin is driven out, maintain the surface tension of the chain hoist supporting the upper portion of the lift cylinder so that the cylinder does not suddenly shift as the pin is removed. Using a heavy rope with the screw around the position of the lift cylinder, restraint movement of the lower portion of the cylinder when lower pin is removed. Do not use chain or restraint movement out of the piston as the chain may score the damaged piston surface. Remove the bolt and non-securing lower lifting cylinder pin to drive out the pin and raise the hoist with the remove the lifting cylinder. Installation: use the chain with the hoist secure the upper portion of the lifting cylinder. Second, heavy the rope with the rounded lifting cylinder portion. Position the lifting cylinder onto the gooseneck with it at the end of the position located between the lock nuts, base plate secure within the 4-pin washer with bolts new and lock. Caution: do not use the chain to control movement of the piston as chain may score the damaged piston surface when the upper portion of the lifting cylinder is in position with the upper lifting cylinder pin can to be driven through the lift cylinder hanger of the tug to secure the pin with the bolt with the washer and new lock nut. Remove the chain and hoist, remove it from the lifting cylinder, remove the caps and tape from the end of the hydraulic line and lifting cylinder ports or reconnect the hydraulic lines to provide the hydraulic pressure for the system and check for leaks. Extend the retract lift cylinder 10 times to remove the air from the hydraulic system. Follow on the tracks, replenish the hydraulic, follow on task. Replenish the hydraulic fluid, check the system for leaks, check the hydraulic system for proper operation. Alright, 513, the gooseneck hydraulic line repair. Repair the trailer, equipment is your trailer, parked on level, grain, brakes, engaged wheels, shock, tools, equipment, tool, mechanical, general, tape, anti-sealing, ties, plastic. Warning: gooseneck must securely supported during the procedure for testing of the firm foundation. Severe and death and injury to personnel may occur with the gooseneck is unstable and tipped. High pressure for the hydraulic oil at 240-50 psi. You to operate the equipment to pierce body of the issue to conserve the injury to personnel. Never disconnect any hydraulic line. Fitting without first dropping the pressure to zero. Wear safety goggles with the performing leakage on the test of the valve to make sure that they resolve the serious eye injury due to the high pressure. And the hydraulic lines can be replaced and repaired depending on the length of the damaged section. If the damaged line is short, replace it. If the damaged line is long, repair it. Reference paragraph 421 lines of support and 422 anti-seizing tape with the general gooseneck of the hydraulic line maintenance instruction. Repair hydraulic lines. If the fittings are not ordinarily removed unless they have been replaced. The badly damaged hydraulic lines. Fittings must be replaced with the hydraulic lines. Fittings must be tightly attached and connected. See gooseneck hydraulic diagram of the additional information. 513, the gooseneck hydraulic line repair condition. The hydraulic tilt cylinder pressure is 1. Your pressure relief valve is 2, and then 3 would be your hydraulic lift cylinder, and number 4 would be your other hydraulic lift cylinder. This is 5 is a 2-spool hydraulic directional control. 6 the hydraulic pressure gauge, and 7 and 8 female and male coupling. Follow on task, then it goes into the appendixes, the references, and then B would be the Army maintenance allocation chart, and C would be I don't read the appendixes, but if you wish to notify me, we'll read it for you. Repair parts special tool list. And then it goes through a part listing of all the parts that we read. If you want to read the part listing, floor decks, pretty much in the order they appeared. Basic issue items list. That goes over the bolts. Appendix I, lubricated instructions. And then the index. And thank you for listening to the Operation Unit Direct Support Maintenance Manual and Repair Special Tools list for the Trailer Medium Heavy Equipment Transportation 420 40-ton M8 70A3 trailer.